Thank you. So I'd like to call the meeting to order. And as words of introduction, I'd like to welcome everybody to this Accessibility Advisory Committee, which is being held virtually today. And the members of the public may also watch the meeting live on the Oakville.ca or the YouTube channel. The agenda and materials are available also on Oakville.ca under the Town Hall agendas and meetings. Today, we have two discussion items and two information items on the agenda. And Natasha, I'd like to ask you to call the roll.
We have regrets this evening from Councillor Giddings.
And all our people are attending?
They are, Mr. Chair.
Are there any people that are attending that are not on the committee by any chance?
We have staff on the call that are presenting this evening.
Okay, that's fine. And are there any declarations of pecuniary interest, Natasha?
Members of the committee, any declarations? I see none, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Now we go to item 3, the confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting from December 14th, 2023. Are there any additions, deletions, or changes to those minutes from the committee? Hearing none, I'd ask for a recommendation for acceptance of the meeting minutes as submitted.
I move acceptance.
Who's going to second?
Mr. Chair, we only need one mover.
Okay, fine. All in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
The motion passes. Okay, item 4, discussion items. Item 1 is the 2024-2029 multi-year accessibility plan development. And who's going to present that?
That'll be myself, Chair.
Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you. So everybody and members of the committee, and through you, Mr. Chair. So you all know me. My name is Andrea Coyne. I'm the Manager of Elections, Policy, and Print Services for the town. With me is Sarah Stewart. Sarah is the Corporate Strategy Program Advisor. And I will note that Sarah was instrumental in the success of the town's website rebuild. So Sarah and I today, we are here to provide you an update on where we are on the development of the town's 2024 to 2029 multi-year accessibility plan. So today's presentation will provide an update on where we are in the development of the plan and to provide the committee an overview of the key findings from the recent accessibility survey the town conducted. The analysis focuses on identifying themes and trends within the feedback, offering a general view of the responses received. And we do hope this summary will serve as a valuable resource in the update of the town's plan, helping to inform actionable insights. Next slide, please. So in developing, posting, and implementing a multi-year accessibility plan, this is an ongoing requirement of the Integrated Accessibility Standards Regulation. I'll refer to this moving forward as the IASR, and this is under the AODA, the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act. The town's previous plan, which was the 2018 to 2023 plan, focused on specific phased-in requirements under the IASR and our actions to meet them. The town has now met most of these requirements, and there are no new requirements currently set out by the province. So as we presented to this committee at the December meeting, in the development of the town's 2024 to 2029 plan, we plan to highlight the town's recent key accomplishments within the IASR areas of customer service, information, communication, employment, transportation, and the design of public spaces. We hope to share trends and community feedback related to what an accessible Oakville means to them, and we want to outline the town's ongoing commitments, new initiatives, areas of focus for the next 5 years. Through community and staff consultation, staff will ensure that the plan is comprehensive, inclusive, and reflective of the diverse needs of our community. And as you may be aware, the town is also nearing the end of the development of the IDEA strategy. And this will aim to support inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility, both within our organization and the community. The IDEA strategy acts as an umbrella above the multi-year accessibility plan and speaks specifically to the legislated areas of the IASR. So we have and we continue to engage with internal staff to identify successes from the current multi-year accessibility plan, areas for improvement, and opportunities to tailor strategies and align with other town plans currently underway that address specific accessibility challenges within the town. Next slide, please. So back in January, we launched a public survey aimed at engaging the Oakville community and gaining a deeper understanding of their accessibility concerns and expectations. The survey was accessible online from January 24th to February 25th to allow ample time for widespread participation and available in alternate formats upon request. And just like the plan, the survey was structured based on the 5 IASR areas. Opportunity to participate was shared with numerous partners and groups, including community organizations, resident groups, business improvement areas, school boards, and more. So we received over 100 responses, which we were quite happy with. And Appendix A to the report in the agenda is the summary of the survey input received and common themes identified in the responses, which we'll review during this presentation. And we do hope the summary provides the committee valuable insight on what the community is saying when it comes to accessibility in Oakville. Next slide, please. So of the respondents who identified their age, 79% identified themselves as over the age of 40. The majority of those who responded identified themselves as living in Oakville, 33% identified as a person with a disability, and 33% as a person with limited mobility. 34% responded that they are a friend, a family member, or a caregiver of a person with a disability. So an important note on the stats, they may be partial due to the interest in the survey, but will still be a useful tool to support the need for accessibility. The responses emphasized not only the town's aging population, but the need for accessible programs, services, and infrastructure, whether for themselves or an individual in their lives, underscoring the importance of consistently incorporating the demographic into town planning and decision-making processes. And so now I'll ask for the next slide, and I'll pass it over to Sarah.
Thank you, Andrea, and good afternoon, everyone. So over the next few slides, I'm going to share some of the feedback that we received through the survey as it relates to the categories within the IASR that Andrea mentioned earlier. So customer service, as a reminder, the customer service standard outlines how the town will make it easier for everyone to use its goods, services, and facilities. Through the survey, we received many positive comments related to customer service, as well as encouragement to continue some of the good work. While many respondents shared that they had more than one way of accessing town programs and services, 40% identified that they typically access town programs and services online. So for example, registering for programs, paying for property taxes or tickets, or applying for a permit. Some of the challenges and areas for improvement were also shared. Several respondents reported facing accessibility challenges when using a town service or visiting a town facility. So participating in a rec program, using transit, or visiting a facility in person. Of those who reported challenges, 62% did not provide feedback back to the town about the challenge that they had. The difficulty in connecting to a person by phone was identified as a barrier for them to providing that feedback. Of those who reported having challenges, 38% did provide feedback, and the majority of them did this by phone or email directly to Service Oakville. This is really helpful feedback for us. Further staff consultation will be very important here as we explore how we can improve the ability for the community to provide feedback about their experiences so that we can take that back and explore ways in which we can address the challenges where possible. A few respondents noted that more attention needs to be placed on accommodating individuals who are hearing impaired. The key takeaway is enhancing training for staff to be able to accommodate and serve individuals of all abilities, including those that may not be immediately apparent or known. Next slide, please. So, information and communication. This standard outlines how the town will create, provide, and receive information and communication in ways that are accessible for people with disabilities. 85% of respondents identified that they found using the town website and social media for information on events, programs, and services was accessible or somewhat accessible. We received positive feedback and encouragement for more of the public awareness campaigns and initiatives, in particular related to public safety, such as how to safely use crosswalks and bike lanes. From residents who commented that these channels were not accessible, they suggested opportunities for improvement, some that included having more information on the website describing the accessibility amenities available at town facilities, so such as which locations have adult change tables and lifts, and not only ensuring that this information is clear and easy to find on the website, but also that staff are well informed about the different accessibility amenities at the different town facilities. Finding more accessible ways to offer and search for recreational program information, and considering adding assistive tools or toolbars on the website, so such as Browse Aloud, which is now called Reach Deck. There are many tools that can be added to websites. The Oakville Public Library currently uses Reach Deck, and that might be a familiar tool for some for us to consider. Next slide, please. Employment. The employment standard outlines how the town will make employment practices in its workplace more accessible to potential and existing employees with disabilities. This section of the survey, had fewer comments compared to some of the other sections, but still have some feedback that we'd like to share with you. Some of the positive feedback included, for those considering to apply or applying for a job or volunteer opportunity at the town, respondents identified that they found the accessibility accommodation information easy to find and helpful. Some of the challenges that they experienced included, or they requested a more streamlined and an easier application process. So there was a little bit too much duplication involved in the process. Next slide, please. So transportation, or in the survey, we called this section Moving Around Oakville. This standard outlines how the town will make it easier for anyone to use its public transportation services. The majority of respondents who have used Oakville Transit found their experience to be accessible, and I think this number was about 90%. Many indicated that they were happy with the continuous improvements they are seeing in transportation accessibility and the friendly service that they're receiving from transit staff. From respondents who commented that it wasn't accessible or only sometimes accessible, suggested improved additional training for drivers and other transit staff to further enhance their knowledge in accessibility and improve the overall user experience. This is a common theme that we are seeing throughout the survey responses, that respondents are pleased with staff training, yet they do encourage additional, enhanced, and diverse training to assist those with accessible needs. For those respondents who indicated that they have used the town's specialized transit services, Caravan, there was tremendous support for its accessible services and friendly staff. A few respondents encouraged continuous improvements to reduce wait times and backlog, as well as seek a solution to scheduling pickup times after appointments. As it relates to intersections and crosswalks, a number of respondents provided feedback on how the town can improve accessibility when using sidewalks, crosswalks, pedestrian signals, and bike lanes. Some of the suggestions included increased lighting around key intersections, especially during the winter months or poor weather conditions, longer times at crosswalks, improved snow removal response times at intersections, crosswalks, and bus stops, and improvements to bike lanes and bike lane markings. Thank you. I will now pass it back to Andrea.
Thank you, Sarah. So next I'll speak to accessing town facilities and spaces, and this outlines how the town will make it easier to use its public spaces, and this is both indoor and outdoor, new construction and major changes to existing facilities owned, leased, operated by the town. Again, happy to say the responses were quite positive about experiences using accessible features and amenities at both town-owned indoor facilities and outdoor. So just to clarify, so indoor facilities include accessible ramps at building entrances, parking spots, washrooms, change rooms, seating, tactile surfaces, and outdoor facilities include beach access routes, recreational trails and pathways, eating areas and play spaces. Some areas of suggested improvements included improved beach waterfront access, improved lighting and accessibility to certain park washrooms. This also includes extending seasonal operating times for some park washrooms. And consideration of lighting, make it accessible to all, brightness, etc. You'll recall that feedback as well on improved lighting was also received for intersections and crosswalks. Respondents also spoke to how improving the maintenance of town amenities and public spaces is essential for enhancing accessibility. Well-maintained areas contribute to a more inclusive environment, ensuring that residents, including those with diverse needs, can navigate and enjoy community spaces with ease. An example of this is ensuring sidewalks are clear of litter and debris, and that branches and tree branches are kept trimmed to ensure trails and pathways are accessible. Additional areas of suggested improvements for outdoor spaces included reviewing picnic table access on grassy areas, offering more paved trail options for those using mobility devices such as walkers or scooters, and more shade options at playgrounds, offering more playground equipment for wheelchair users and sensory seekers, and curbside parking considerations as well for those requiring accessible parking when none is available. Next slide, please. So again, we're happy to say we're very, very happy to report that survey respondents overall expressed high levels of satisfaction with accessibility in the town, highlighting a positive sentiment towards collaborative efforts aimed at enhancing accessibility in all areas. The identification of shared obstacles shed light on common community issues, fostering a deeper understanding of challenges. And importantly, respondents not only pointed out areas for improvements, but also contributed valuable initiatives and ideas, reflecting on an engaged and constructive community. Overall, the survey conveyed a sense of contentment and optimism among residents, emphasizing the success of ongoing efforts and the potential for further enhancements in the town's overall quality of life. So in addition to what we discussed on the previous slides, some real key takeaways and areas for review or potential improvement include additional and enhanced training for staff, particularly in addressing a broader spectrum of abilities and disabilities, including those that may not be immediately apparent or known. Additional accommodations for individuals with hearing impairments. This signals a need for a review of staff training, town infrastructure, programs and services with a focus on the needs of the hearing impaired to foster inclusivity and ensure a more supportive environment for all members of the community. Regular monitoring and maintenance of accessibility features and town-owned spaces, and continuous review and assessments of on-street and curbside parking options for those requiring accessible parking when none is available, which I touched upon on the last slide. Next slide, please. Now, just to close it out with just a bit of a timeline, information gathered from staff consultations and the public survey we just spoke to will be carefully analyzed and integrated into the plan. And staff are working hard to adhere to the established timeline for the plan. We do anticipate presenting a draft of the plan for review and feedback at this committee's September meeting of 2024, followed by a final version that will be presented to Council for approval. We do really appreciate active participation and collaboration of both staff and residents and in this process, and of course, most notably, our AAC members. Together, we are taking meaningful steps in the town's ongoing commitment toward creating an inclusive environment that respects and benefits the diverse needs of our community. And at this time, Sarah and I are very happy to take any questions that the committee may have.
Okay, I would like to open the floor to questions and comments. Any questions or comments for Andrea or Sarah?
Hi, it's Deborah. I just had a comment and a question maybe around, so you said that there was 100 responses. Is that, like, that seems low to me, but is that, I don't have anything to base it on, like anything to compare it to. But given the size of the town of Oakville and how many organizations you appeared to send it out to, it didn't seem like a high response rate.
So through you, Mr. Chair, I'll jump in on that, and Sarah, please jump in if you wanted to supplement this. We weren't sure how many responses we were going to receive. The effort was there to ensure this was put out to all community groups, resident associations, and what we knew is that it is a small subset of individuals who maybe don't necessarily associate with the need to take an accessibility survey, not realizing that a mom with a stroller on a sidewalk needs accessible ramps. She or a parent needs that accessibility just the same way a person in a wheelchair. So I don't know if Sarah, if you wanted to comment on other projects you've been involved in with respect to survey responses, but I do know we were looking at probably a lower number than other surveys out there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Through you, Mr. Chair. Just to add to what Andrea was saying, we also do a lot of surveys at the town, and so I think staff is aware that, you know, there could be survey fatigue as well, and that oftentimes we find more responses when there is something maybe a bit more contentious or a lot of challenges that are common across the board. And I think out of the responses we did receive, we were very pleased to see the amount of comments within the survey. So, you know, sometimes people sort of skip through comments, but the respondents were thoughtful about providing detailed comments to us. So that's been very helpful for us. And as far as the number, we were still able to see trends in some of the feedback, which is what we're looking for.
Thank you. I do know there was a lot of surveys that came out around the same time in that. And just a comment is that I did talk to a couple of people in my neighborhood, and several of them are visually disabled. So I had sent them the survey, or suggested that they participate in the survey. But one thing I noticed, and maybe I didn't get the right one or whatever, is that just a suggestion, if there's an option for surveys to have the voice to click on, like I know when I work at Sheridan, when I do exams, there's an option for students to click on the exam questions and it will speak to them and then they can do it that way. The couple of people I sent it to said they didn't see that option, so they weren't able to participate. So it's just something, I don't know if the town has access to that, and in line with that is that for the websites and that if there's any voice to text option for submitting like online questions to, you know, on the sites, on the Oakville Town of Oakville site for services and that, and just for asking questions. If there's any voice to text software options, just a suggestion that I know that's been something that has been considered in other organizations, and it's gotten really good feedback in that regard.
Thank you, Andrew. I could take this. Just a quick comment through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for that feedback that you shared with us. That's very important, and we will take that back. And we certainly are exploring assistive devices, assistive tools for our websites, looking to see what other municipalities are using, and being in touch with them to learn a little bit from them, how they're being used, and where we might go from there.
And through you, Mr.
Any
Chair.
further comments?
If I could add just one more to Deborah's question, part of the reason that we are excited to bring this development update to this committee is the fact that this does open up the possibility for more people to participate in whatever capacity. So I do encourage, if it does come up in conversation, even just passing that person along my contact information, or you can shoot me an email and I can contact them in whatever way works for them. We want to continue the conversation as we develop the plan.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I have talked to people about the committee and the work that the town does and the committee does, and everybody, and I'm excited about it, and everybody's excited about it. So I do feel like it's not a criticism. I just want to pass on what the feedback that I'm hearing as well. So
I'd like to add a personal comment. This is to do, with me personally. You have a great deal of picnic tables in all your various facilities for outdoor activities. There's only one problem with picnic tables. The way they're built, you can't in a wheelchair get under them. And you can't get out of your wheelchair to get on the bench seats attached to them. Is there any way that they can be built so that there is some possibility for somebody in a wheelchair to get underneath, so they can get, underneath so they don't spill all the food all over them?
Through
I
you,
don't know
Mr.
whether that's a comment that could go back, but that's something that's always bothered me a bit.
No, absolutely. I will invite. We have Andrea Wood on the line. I will invite her to speak if she has anything to add to that. But we absolutely will take that feedback. I do believe we received a couple comments along those lines as well in the survey, so that is being taken into consideration for sure.
Thank you. Any further comments or suggestions, recommendations?
Are we actually looking, or can I remind you that accessibility also means for people with neurodivergent people with ADHD? We have to look at that now. And are we including those people? Is that something that everything has been looked at? Are they included with us?
Thank you, Nora, for your comment. And through you, Mr. Chair, we received many comments along those lines as well. So while this plan very specifically looks at the 5 areas of the IASR, we are looking at that. We are taking all of those comments into consideration. And Sarah, I may ask you to jump in if you are more familiar with it, but I do believe the IDEA strategy, which is the inclusivity, diversity, equity, and accessibility strategy that the town is nearing the end of development of, speaks to that as well.
Thank you, Andrea, and through you, Mr. Chair. to your comment, Nora, we did receive quite a number of comments related to this feedback, and it is very important for us to look at and review and address. And we will also take it back and share it with the folks who are working on IDEA as well.
Okay, great. I think, you know, they have to be included along with the rest of us. And it's very important. I look at my grandchildren and I always worry, is there something that can help them cross the street properly? Or there's a lot of little things that we really have to look at. So I hope we can include that as a disability.
Absolutely. Thank you for your feedback.
Any further comments? Hearing no more comments.
Maybe I'll throw a
Go
couple.
ahead, Nora. We've got time.
Okay. Unfortunately, I wasn't there at the transit meeting. But I would like to make a comment about the electric buses. Not everyone can use them. The caravan, I actually went inside of one to take a look. My husband in his wheelchair would not be able to fit properly. I don't know how they expect people with walkers, canes, to try to get up the steps in the back of those because the seats are all raised. So I think we need to bring that back to transit and let them know, as much as they're cute little buses, they are not totally accessible.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Nora, I would agree with you because I actually have used one of those buses.
Did you?
In my case, you know, I fit in just fine. It was very comfortable, a lot more comfortable than the ones they use that are diesel driven, which go bounce and crash all over the place. But you know, they're not as accessible as I was expecting them to be. When I saw that there were stairs for people to sit, you know, in the back part of the bus, I was quite amazed. And
I was shocked.
And my driver also made that exact same comment.
Yes.
So it's well known.
Yeah, because there's no way. My husband drives his chair with his head, and of course it has to be a high back in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
There was no way that he could get in there and maneuver himself. So unfortunately, we're not looking at all the different areas of the disabilities. We could look at someone with a wheelchair, a manual wheelchair, who could get into a spot much easier than someone who has to have a power chair. And this is not being looked at, I find. Just recently, walking down the street, I'm looking at the driveways, how they're paved and they're sloped. I could barely walk on it. My husband has to use his wheelchair on the road. And he cannot drive down the street without one side of his wheelchair tilting. So there's a lot of areas in this town where the streets need to be actually looked at properly. A lot of cracks. We did use the bike lane once and we were told we're not allowed to. It's against the law for us because we weren't a bicycle.
Well, Nora, I use the road all the time and I ignore when the cops tell me to get off the road.
Parking spots, the type of vehicle we have, the accessible parking. We can't fit in, or we can't get my husband in and out because we have to have a lift. Those are other things that we needed to look at. And I do apologize that I couldn't do it, but with him in the hospital and the issues, we've had a really rough year. Myself, I have no vision out of one eye, so I have problems walking and seeing. I've had my eye removed last year, and visually it's very difficult. Sometimes I'll walk into a branch because I can't see anything on my left side. So there's a lot of little things I find that we need to start looking at to make it more accessible for this town.
May I also make a comment on transportation for, particularly to do with caravan? You know, the people on the other end of the line when you're arranging for caravan are great. However, there's two things about caravan. They want you to be ready for the caravan at least 20 minutes before the time you're supposed to pick you up, and you're supposed to be ready 20 minutes before the time you're coming home. And if you're going to a doctor's appointment, I can guarantee you have no idea when you're actually going to get out of the doctor's office. How do you handle that?
We can't. And that's the answer for it.
I know, but that's what my question is.
Right?
Is there anything that can be done at the caravan service that will actually give a better opportunity to make arrangements for the return trip?
And if I may, through you, Mr. Chair, I wanted to go back to a few things that Nora said, but with respect to caravan, that feedback was received by a few respondents as well, just in terms of addressing the scheduling to figure out how backlog could be reduced and how the end after an appointment, how that time can be looked at, exactly what you said. So that feedback has been received by respondents in the survey. And Nora, if I may go back to a couple of areas. So you had spoken to that not everybody can use the electric buses. Were you speaking specifically to the electric caravan buses or the
Yes.
smaller? Okay, so that
The
is
smaller ones. I was at the hospital and just watching these the caravans come in.
okay.
Now, yeah, they were wheelchair accessible, but
Right. And
I was extremely disappointed. They were cute, and that's as far as it goes. Right?
Yeah, and so again, this is all excellent feedback that we are going to take back to staff. What Sarah and I are doing is as you've seen, we've compiled the feedback, and then we are taking that to staff to sort it out, to ask them questions. Perhaps it's already in their work plan, and if not, is it something that they can put in their work plan or address? Now, with respect to sidewalks, that feedback also, I just wanted to reiterate that these are commonalities that we're seeing in the survey responses. Maintenance of the sidewalks, that keeping the trees trimmed, making sure that that curbs and lips and ramps, they're well maintained or they're monitored so that if there is any cracks or whatnot, it isn't causing a barrier to someone who's using it. And then lastly, the parking spots. So that is a really interesting feedback to get. It's necessary feedback in terms of the accessible spaces. Now, the example that you used, what was it at town facilities or was it at a private business?
Well, for instance, actually, does anybody know where Sobeys is here? At Abbey, is it called Abbey Park? I don't know. Anyways, there's a plaza, and this is just one incident. It would be a plaza. If you pull in, first of all, if we park our vehicle to let my husband out, we could back into the spot, let him off on the curb, but then there's no slope for him to drive down. So you have to turn the vehicle around, and hopefully nobody is parked too close beside you. And it says, please don't park 8 meters, but still people are parked right beside you. We've been in the Walmart parking lot where people are parking because of somebody with a baby, moms and tots type of parking spots. I mean, I remember running across parking lots to go shopping. Now they have a special spot, but they're not being considerate of people with the wheelchairs. So this is something that really needs to look at. They're not wide enough, those spots. We were at the park last year, or the year before, sorry. And to get my husband in the van, we had to pull out and go, across the parking lot, pull into a police parking spot so that we could get my husband in. We actually got ringed out by the police, the Marine Division, because we were parked in a spot for the police. He didn't bother looking in to see that we were trying to strap my husband in. And I did go to the police department about that and put a complaint in. I put a complaint in with the MP. That was ridiculous. And this is how we were being treated. All because we were trying to get my husband inside the vehicle. So we have to start looking at people with larger vehicles, which we have to have. I would rather drive a small vehicle, but we have to use a large one. And those spots are much too small everywhere. So this is another thing that we've been looking at. You know, don't put one beside a curb that doesn't have a slope. That is the worst thing that we could, I couldn't believe. There would be no way we could get them off the curb.
And I do have to say, I think it's a great thing that you gave your feedback and that you did share your story about what happened.
Right.
And with respect to private businesses, again, Andrea, I know you're more familiar with the AODA than I am, but private businesses, they do still have to, they do have to have they have to accommodate accessible parking. In terms of this plan, we are looking at town-owned indoor spaces and outdoor spaces, but we welcome absolutely all feedback. And Nora, if you'd like to book a quick phone call to flesh out any other areas with respect to what we're doing here, I'm happy to.
Okay, and I have photos showing us trying to get my husband in and out, and really we were at a town park.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, and the police coming after us. Yep. I thought that was pretty sad.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay.
So any further comments? Okay, go ahead, Karen.
Thank you. So just a couple, transit is my passion too. I ride transit every week, every day almost. And so I've noticed some of the improvements like the audio and visuals, announcements and the signage on the buses. But I also brought up at one of our other meetings that I don't see it functional all the time and whether or not it's being reported. And thank you to whomever set up the follow-up that in the town of 2023 that there were only 3 incidences reported of it not working on a bus. And I ride regular bus. So I just want to share with the team that I was encouraged a couple weeks ago. I was riding the bus early in the morning and I encountered a driver who was on a modified leave and he was tasked to ride every single bus in the system and note whether the audio and the visual was working for every single bus, and even not just up front, but was the microphone working in the back so that the people in the back could hear it as well. So I was encouraged to see that there was some work being done to try and, because it's all well and good to implement these things and check it off that yes, we've done it, but if they're not consistently working for the people that need it, I don't think it's succeeded. And then the other thing with the survey I'm encouraged is yes, I observe every single day that drivers need a little more training and more sensitivity to understand that not every disability is visible. And my pet peeve is that they don't lower the bus every day. I actually started timing it. It takes less than 3 seconds to lower the floor and then 3 seconds to bring it back up. Of course, it's time for the person getting on, so you have to add that time in as well. And they are courteous majority of the time that they wait till the person's seated before they leave so that they're not falling, which is great. But I am encouraged that the town survey has identified that in all staff training has to be a little bit improved in that it's including into Nora's point, the neuro disabilities as well as the visual and mobile and visual disabilities. So just my few comments there.
Thank you. Any further comment? Hearing no further comments, I'd ask for a recommendation to receive the report. Somebody so move?
Also move.
Is there a second? Thank you, Karen. Okay, all in favor? Actually, let's put it this way. If there's anybody opposed, please say aye. The motion passes unanimously. We're moving now on to item 4 is Facility Services Capital Projects Accessibility Update for 2024. And who is the presenter?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's me, Andrea Wood.
Okay, thank you, Andrea.
Thank you for having me again. You know me as Andrea Wood from Facility Services Capital Projects with the town of Oakville. Every year we bring to you a report at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year with the priority areas of our Facility Services Accessibility Plan. This is an information item, and I'm sorry I don't have a PowerPoint presentation for you, but I'll read through the facilities and review the areas of priority under the AODA, Design of Public Spaces, and I'll answer any questions pertaining to those locations. The priority areas are outdoor pathways, parking, service counters, and waiting areas, plus ensuring that the maintenance of the accessible elements is priority. This is year 4 of the priority audit items since the beginning of the program in 2020. The focus of the 2024 work plan will include Fire Hall 1 accessible parking, Fire Hall 2 accessible parking, Coronation Park washroom accessible parking, Coronation Park stage, West Oak Trails Park washroom accessible parking, Lakeside Park washroom, North Operations Depot accessible parking, Old Palermo School accessible parking, Southeast Operations Depot, Tannery Park washroom stairs, Oakville Transit accessible parking, Glen Abbey exterior pathways, Queen Elizabeth Park Community and Cultural Center accessible parking, and Trafalgar Park Community Center exterior stairs. Item number 2 on this information report is planning for the 2024 Oakville Universal Design Standards. That is a familiar document in the town of Oakville for municipal buildings, fondly called the OODs. The Accessibility Advisory Committee has been instrumental in the original development of this document, and we are now asking you for some current feedback before we update for the next 5 years. It is required to update this document no less than every 5 years to reflect changes in legislation, technological advancements, work innovation, and new construction practices. And further to Nora's point from earlier, neurodiversity will also be explored in this year's update. The Facility Accessibility Design Standards has been considered among the top go-to documents in the provincial accessibility circles. And we want to continue working with you to be an exemplary reference by reviewing and providing technical information based on your lived experiences to improve meaningful accessibilities in our town buildings. I will be the project manager for this year's update. At the time to meet our 2024 update, we will request any feedback by May 13th. This will allow feedback to be reviewed at our June meeting and have the updates done for October, which would be our 5-year anniversary. This document will be used until 2028, where it will be reviewed again. Last two information items. Planning for the new central library will begin in summer 2024, and feedback may be requested at the December AAC meeting. I don't have any further information on that yet. And of course, annual accessibility updates. Further to the projects listed in the 2024 facilities work plan will be reviewed in December for work completed this year. I'd be happy to answer any questions pertaining to those information items.
Any questions for Andrea?
Andrea, I just wondered, you had mentioned about getting feedback on the Oakville Universal Design Standards.
Yes.
When did you want that feedback? I just wondered.
If we could ask that you review it, you've got about 2 to 3 months before the middle of May. And that way it'll give me enough time to work with our consultants who will be producing this accessible document by our target, which is September. So, yeah.
Thank you.
It is available online at oakville.ca, and there's a link in our agenda. Thank you.
Any further comments? I'm wondering if we should get 1 or 2 of us on this committee to get together and do this review. What are the comments from the committee?
Sorry, do you mean, David, who sit down and go through the actual document together?
Yes, I think that would be appropriate, or we could, if Andrea can set up a Zoom call or something, we could do it together on a Zoom call. Can you do that, Andrea?
I would absolutely love to do that, Mr. Chair. I can give you a little bit of time to review that, perhaps reach out to the group in a month.
Okay. So is anybody willing to actually put their name forward to actually do some of this review to start off the ball rolling?
Yeah, I can. I'm happy to review it and offer the perspective that I can.
Okay, Devin, that would be terrific. Anybody else?
I'm happy as well.
Okay, Julia, we've got a committee of 2. Terrific.
And if I
Can
may
I ask how big is the document?
148 pages.
Okay, so some time involved.
Okay.
Okay.
I would love to do it, but I never know what my next day is going to be like. So if I could be a question mark on it and be able to spend the time, because I have to have nursing here, I have to have support workers to help me out. But today was great. This was amazing because I didn't have to leave the house. I'm here. If something happens, I can excuse myself for a minute.
I'm in the same situation. I can put myself as tentative. Yeah. If you plan a date, I can see if I can get through the document by then, but I can't be a firm commitment.
Let me make a suggestion. Devin and Julie have said they would do the review. So if I can give you guys, say, a month, then if you both can call me, we can try and set up a time that everybody else, so all the rest of the committee can get together with you and you can discuss with us any changes or improvements that you'd like to see made. How does that work?
Yeah, that's great for me.
That sounds great.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I may, through you, Mr. Chair. So yes. The committee's terms of reference does allow the committee to establish a working group. So staff can't support the working group, but of course the feedback can go back to Andrea Wood. I would recommend that that the committee add a recommendation that a working group be established under this item, and you can make it the second recommendation, and you can indicate who's on the working group, the members who are on the working group, and the terms of reference does say that the membership of a working group will not constitute a quorum of the committee, and that working groups will operate by consensus and formal motions will not be required.
That sounds great. So can you set that up in the minutes? That we're going to form, first of all, does the committee agree that we should form this working group of 2 people from the committee? Is there any discussion? All in favor of a working group being set up with Devin and Julie? Please indicate by raising your hand.
So if I may, through you, Mr. Chair, we will, we already have one recommendation attached to Andrea's item. If we can add a recommendation, we'll just take a quick minute to draft up the second recommendation, which will be along the lines of what you had said, that a working group be established for the purposes of reviewing the Oakville Universal Design Standards version 2.1. And the working group will be comprised of yourself, Julie, and Devin.
Yep.
Now we'll just give Natasha, the council and committee coordinator, a minute to ensure that the wording she has the wording noted.
Andrea, can I ask, I know the document's available online, but would we be able to get a hard copy of it from you?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, I would just need to know a delivery address, and then we can forward those documents in any format.
And you've got copies, I believe, of all the working addresses of the committee members.
Thank you. I will get one of these copies to Devin, Julia, and yourself, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Perfect. That's great. Now, having done that, Natasha, have you got it in your mind what we're suggesting?
Just working on it at the moment here, Mr. Chair. So just so everyone can see.
That's better.
Okay, that a working group be established to review and provide feedback
on the Oakville Universal Design Standards. Universal Design Standards. Version 2.1. Is that correct, Andrew?
Version 2.1?
Yes, that is correct, Mr. Chair. Version 2.1. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're amending the motion that the report dated March 12th, 2024, entitled Facility Services Capital Projects Accessibility Update 2024 be received, and that a working group be established to review and provide feedback on the Oakville Universal Design Standards version 2.1.
Do you want a date in there, Andrew, as well?
If you will, Mr. Chair, accept May 13th, 2024 as the delivery date for feedback.
Okay, can you add that to it, Natasha, by May 13th, 2024? We all know what we're supposed to do. Thank you. And before we get a recommendation to receive, has anybody got any other comments for Andrea Wood on her presentation?
Sorry, Mr. Chair. Where we have here by May 13th, 2024, we also want to include the members that are going to be doing this.
Okay, it's gonna be Julie Romano,
With the members.
Devin, and myself.
Okay,
Or-
so then this will be, then we're going with, we have the staff recommendation, and then this is the amended portion of the recommendation.
correct.
And I just
That's
want to
correct.
confirm everyone in the committee can see this.
I certainly can. How about anybody else? Anybody having a problem seeing it?
No, I can see it. I just want to clarify, so if the rest of us that aren't on the working group, we can read and provide feedback through the working group. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So would it be
So
helpful for the
again, any
committee?
further comments on Andrea's report? Hearing no further comment, I would ask for a recommendation that the report be received with the working group edition. I need somebody to move that and second it.
I will approve.
Okay, and we've got a North give us a second. Again, I will suggest anybody not in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Now we're moving on to the information items, and let's still get to my page here and see what they are. Item 5.1, the follow-up from the meeting of December 14th, and I don't know what that is. So, Andrea, please help me.
Of course, through you, Mr. Chair. So there was, at the meeting, our December meeting, December 14th, 2023, follow-up was requested from the committee on a few items. So this memo that's attached as the information item, it was distributed by email to the committee on February 5th of 2024, but we wanted to include it in this agenda for public consumption. So if anyone has any questions about what's contained in the memo, this is absolutely the time that you're welcome to ask questions, but hopefully this does provide some clarity as to what was asked. And this is surrounding the previous items about transit, but also site plan review.
Are there any further questions on this information item?
No, the information was helpful about the, I know I was the one that asked about the time for the transit, so I do appreciate that. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. And if I may, Mr. Chair, speaking to information item 2, again, this memo was also sent to the committee February 5th of 2024, but we wanted to include it in the agenda as any member of the public is welcome to join if they wish. But we do welcome the members of the committee on a facility tour of the town's Oakville Trafalgar Community Center, and that's scheduled for Wednesday, May 1st, 2024 at 1:15 for those who are able to join and wish to join us. So the tour will be led by 2 staff, one being Andrea Wood, who's with us today, and also Eric, and he's the facility manager. So we do hope that this tour provides the committee with an in-depth and behind-the-scenes tour of the accessibilities of the new community center, both inside and out, weather permitting, of course. And this is an excellent opportunity to showcase the community center, as it did open in 2020, and it achieved a gold rating for accessibility under the Rick Hansen Foundation Accessibility Certification. So, Andrea, I will, once I'm finished, ask you to jump in if you wish to speak to it at all. But we do invite the committee members to stay after the tour for some light refreshments. And should any committee members need any transportation to or from the tour, please reach out to me directly.
Andrew, I do have a question too. Andrew, what I do have a question, because of my background and interest, is will we be able to see the mechanical equipment?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we can't do any roof visits.
No, I know that.
The elevator doesn't go to the roof, but I will do my best to provide, well, you'll have, your own journey as you arrive to the space. We'll walk through the entrances, the universal change rooms, the universal washrooms, all the primary corridors, our walking track, our area of refuge in case of emergency, and I'll be pointing out different features that led to the gold certification from the Rick Hansen Foundation. I hope that was exciting.
And you know, as I say, I'm just interested. Like, I know there's going to be pumps, etc., for the pool, and I'd love to see that stuff.
We definitely can see the pool mechanical room.
Okay, at least I can see one. That's good.
Yes, we definitely can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So it seems we've come to the end of our meeting.
Mr. Chair, we just need a mover for the information items.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Would somebody move for the information items 5.1 and 5.2 be accepted or received? Okay, Devin, thank you. Second. Thank you, Karen. Again, any opposed, please raise your hand. The motion is accepted unanimously. And I got a note here that I should say all these above recommendations that have been approved by the committee will be presented to the council through receipt of the meeting minutes. In accordance with the committee's terms of reference, any advice or recommendation that requires action or implementation by the town staff must be approved by town council. And unless separated from the minutes by a motion from a council member, the recommendations are acknowledged as advice to council, but not deemed as formal directives to staff. With that, I would say that the next meeting is June 13th, 2024 at 4 p.m. You know if we'll be meeting virtually or meeting in person at that stage?
Mr. Chair, I don't have that information available at this moment.
Okay, we'll find out as time goes on. With that, I would actually entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Thank you, people. Thank you very much for your time and your effort. And I think we've had a reasonably good meeting today, and I think we've answered a lot of questions and posed some things for the council to actually chew over and hopefully help improve our town to be a more accessible place. So thank you very much, everybody. Good evening, and we'll see you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Yes, thank you for all the information. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.